The galaxy laughed when humans sent one ship. They weren't expecting this. The air in the chamber was as sterile and cold as the polished white marble that lined its walls. Here, in the heart of what had once been the United Nations General Assembly Hall, the leaders of a unified Earth sat in heavy silence. Their faces were grim masks of disbelief and apprehension. For 3 days, the monolithic ships of the Cygnian hegemony had hung in their skies, silent and motionless. Their very presence was a suffocating weight upon the planet. Now, their judgment was to be delivered. At the center of the room stood the emissary, Praetor Valerius. He was a being of intimidating grace, impossibly tall and slender. His body was encased in an iridescent carapace that shifted from deep violet to metallic blue under the chamber's stark lighting. His movements were fluid, deliberate, and exuded an ancient confidence that made the assembled human leaders seem like fleeting, fidgeting creatures. A small, floating orb hummed near his multifaceted head. It translated his complex, chittering language into flawlessly articulated, dispassionately calm prose. "We have completed our initial assessment," Valerius began, his translated voice echoing slightly in the cavernous hall. The praetor's gaze swept across the room. His alien thoughts were unreadable, but his condescension was palpable. "Your species, humanity, has been classified as a tier 4 developing race. You show remarkable aptitude for aggression, rapid technological adaptation, and societal resilience. Commendable traits for a species at your stage." President Anya Sharma gripped the edge of her console, her knuckles white. She could feel the anger and fear radiating from her fellow delegates. They were being graded like school children. However, Valerius continued, "These same traits, left unchecked, lead invariably to self-destruction or galactic destabilization. Your history is a testament to this fact. It is a chaotic litany of internal warfare. You are children playing with cosmic fire, and you are about to burn yourselves." Captain Marcus Cole stood at the back of the chamber as a military advisor. He felt his jaw tighten. He had spent 20 years in the Alliance Navy. He had fought in the orbital skirmishes of the Mars Rebellion and had seen the very worst of humanity. But he had also seen its best. He recognized the language Valerius was using. It was the soft, paternalistic rhetoric of a conqueror who believes their conquest is a moral imperative. Therefore, the Cygnian hegemony, in accordance with the Galactic Stability Mandate, is extending its benevolent guidance to Earth, Valerius announced. The word guidance hung in the air, a silken veil over a steel cage. You will be granted observer status within the hegemony. Your interstellar travel will be restricted to your home system. We will provide you with limited technological uplifts in medicine and agriculture to ensure your stability. In return, you will disarm your offensive fleet and accept hegemony oversight. It is for your own protection. The room was a tomb of silent fury. Protection, oversight, restriction. The words were a death sentence for human ambition, for the very drive that had lifted them from the mud to the stars. President Sharma finally found her voice. It was steady, despite the tremor she felt in her soul. "Praetor, humanity values its sovereignty. We are prepared to engage as equals. Equality is earned, not declared," the praetor interrupted. A subtle shift in his carapace was the only sign of his impatience. "You are not ready. Your potential is undeniable, but it is raw and untamed. We will shepherd you." That was when Cole broke protocol. He took one step forward. His voice cut through the oppressive silence, clear and cold. "You mean you'll control us?" Every head in the room, human and alien, swiveled to face him. Valerius's multifaceted eyes focused on Cole. There was a flicker of what might have been surprise in their depths. The floating orb translated Cole's words, and the praetor's head tilted. Captain Marcus Cole of the Alliance Navy, Valerius, stated. His translator had identified Cole from the security roster. "A soldier's perspective is always so direct. You misunderstand our purpose, Captain. We are preventing a tragedy. Be grateful for our intervention." With that final, dismissive statement, Praetor Valerius turned and glided from the chamber. He left humanity with its verdict. They were no longer masters of their own destiny. They were a protectorate, a problem to be managed. But as Marcus Cole watched the alien emissary depart, a different thought solidified in his mind. It was a cold, hard, and deeply human resolve. They had been underestimated. And that was a mistake the hegemony would learn to regret. 3 months later, Captain Marcus Cole found himself at the bottom of the world, in a place that officially did not exist. The transport plane had landed on a featureless Antarctic ice sheet under the disorienting glare of the 24-hour sun. The cold was a physical blow, a vicious, life-hating force that stole the breath from his lungs. He was rushed from the ramp into a small elevator that descended deep into the ice, leaving the brutal surface world behind. When the doors opened, he stepped into another reality. The air here was warm, humming with the contained thrum of immense power. He was in a vast cavern, a city carved from the ancient ice. It was lit by brilliant globes of fusion light. Hundreds of people, scientists, engineers, and technicians, moved with a quiet, fervent purpose. This was the Prometheus Initiative. Impressive, isn't it? A voice said beside him. Cole turned to see a man in a simple gray jumpsuit. His face was lined with the sleepless intensity of a true believer. This was Dr. Eris Thorne, the mind behind the madness. Doctor, Cole greeted him. Your summons was unexpected. The circumstances are unprecedented, Captain, Thorne replied, his eyes gleaming with fierce intelligence. We have little time for protocol. Come. He led Cole through the bustling cavern, past workstations where teams reverse-engineered glowing alien components, and towards a colossal set of blast doors. When the hegemony came, they saw us as a primitive culture to be managed, Thorne said, his voice low but intense. They left monitoring stations, surveillance drones, the bare minimum to keep the children from playing with matches. They thought we were children, so they weren't careful. The blast doors parted with a near-silent hiss, revealing the cavern beyond. Cole stopped dead, his breath catching in his throat. It was a ship, but it was like no ship humanity had ever built. It wasn't assembled from plates and beams. It seemed to have been sculpted from a single piece of obsidian. It was a sliver of captured night, all sharp angles and fluid curves, absorbing the light around it. It rested in its cradle with the lethal grace of a dormant predator. This, Thorne said, his voice filled with a creator's fierce pride, is the UNS Odyssey. And she is our answer to the hegemony. Cole walked forward slowly. His boots echoed in the immense space. He ran a hand along the hull. It was smooth and cool, yet felt strangely organic. It hummed with a latent energy that resonated deep in his bones. How? Was all he could manage. We scanned their ships when they hung in our skies. We recovered the debris from the probes they sent down. We analyzed the communication relays they left us, Thorne explained, ticking points off on his fingers. They gave us the pieces of their 30,000-year-old puzzle, and humanity, Captain, is very, very good at puzzles. We didn't just copy their technology. In many areas, we understood it on a fundamental level and improved it. Cole circled the vessel, his professional military mind assessing and calculating. It was a frigate-class vessel, small by hegemony standards. She's beautiful, Doctor. A marvel. But she's still just one ship. He turned to face the scientist. One ship against a galaxy? A fair point, Thorne conceded. If we were planning to fight a war. But we're not. The hegemony has ruled for millennia, silencing dissent, quarantining species they deem unstable, and suppressing technologies that threaten their dominance. They must have made enemies. Or at least, they've created a galaxy full of the overlooked and the resentful. He looked from the ship to Cole, his expression hardening with conviction. We're not looking for a fight, Captain. We're looking for allies. We're going to find the ones the galaxy forgot. And you are the only pilot we trust to lead them. Cole looked back at the Odyssey. It was an insane, desperate gamble. A single vessel, crewed by a species the galaxy considered barely sentient, setting out to foment a revolution against an ancient, unshakable empire. It was impossible. It was suicide. And it was the most magnificently human thing he had ever seen. 6 months later, the finality of their mission settled upon the bridge of the Odyssey. The 100 men and women of the Prometheus Initiative, the best specialists humanity could secretly gather, stood at their stations. They were a silent, focused testament to a species that refused to be caged. The bridge itself was a marvel of pragmatic fusion. Familiar Terran alloy bulkheads stood next to consoles that swirled with the living, crystalline light of Xyland arrived. Processors. The main view screen was a sheet of flawless, non-reflective darkness until activated. It was a warship's heart, built for function, not comfort. Captain Marcus Cole settled into the command chair, the material molding to his form. It felt less like sitting and more like interfacing with the vessel itself. He could feel the low thrum of the Singularity core, a contained star waiting to unleash its power. Before him, his crew was a study in comm readiness. Every officer, from navigation to tactical, had trained for this moment in accelerated, grueling simulations. They were as ready as anyone could be for a mission with no precedent and a vanishingly small chance of success. Dr. Eris Thorne's voice came over the comm from the engineering bay, one level below. All systems are green, Captain. The stealth drive is stable and masking our energy signature. The hegemony's orbital monitors will see nothing but ice and rock. Understood, Dr. Cole replied. He looked at the main screen, which now showed a view from a topside camera. The colossal ice doors of the subterranean hangar were sliding open, revealing the pale, endless sky of Antarctica. Helm, take us up. Slow and silent. The Odyssey lifted from its cradle without a sound, a phantom rising from a frozen tomb. It ascended through the ice tunnel and into the thin, frigid air. It left no heat trail, no sonic disturbance, no ripple in the planet's magnetic field. On the screens of the hegemony's orbital stations, the event was utterly invisible. The ship climbed through the atmosphere, a ghost of humanity's defiance. Below them, Earth was a breathtaking swirl of blue, white, and green. For a long moment, no one spoke. They were each taking their last look, memorizing the shape of a continent, the glint of sun on an ocean, the home they were leaving behind with no guarantee of return. We're clear of the monitoring net. The navigation officer reported, his voice hushed with awe. Approaching the jump corridor, Cole took a deep breath. The recycled air tasted of ozone and potential. He thought of Valerius's condescending pronouncements, of the long, slow death of a species confined to its cradle. He thought of the hope and desperation that had fueled this impossible project. Take us out, he commanded, his voice ringing with quiet authority. Let's go find the ones the galaxy forgot. The command was given, and the universe outside. The view screen twisted. Space didn't blur or stretch. It folded in on itself. Reality turned into a nauseating, kaleidoscopic vortex of color and light that was gone in an instant. The Odyssey had crossed the threshold. Far away, in the gleaming grand chamber of the Signian hegemony, Praetor Valerius was concluding a report on the successful pacification of a minor species in the Perseus Arm. An aide approached and chittered. Softly, passing him a data slate, Valerius glanced at it. His iridescent carapace rippled with amusement. A report from the Sol system, he announced to the assembled delegates. The primitives have managed to launch a vessel. It appears to have broken past their system's edge before its signal vanished. Likely a propulsion malfunction. He looked out at the other delegates. A thin sliver of a smile was on his alien features. One ship, he mused. The translator turned his chitters into a sound of dry laughter. What could one primitive ship possibly accomplish? The assembled delegates of the hegemony joined him in his casual, dismissive mirth. They had no idea that the ghost that had just slipped from their grasp was not an accident, but an answer. For 2 years, the Odyssey moved through the unexplored voids between the galactic arms, a lone ghost on a quest for ghosts. They followed whispers of stellar anomalies and faint, centuries-old navigation beacons. They were searching for the fringes of the galaxy the hegemony had forgotten. It was in the Orion Spur, a sparsely populated and chaotic region of space, that they found their first sign. Captain, the science officer reported. Her voice was laced with an excitement that cut through the bridge's quiet hum. I'm detecting a planetary system with anomalous readings. Signs of a highly advanced technological society, widespread energy grids, complex communication networks. But no FTL signatures. Not a single one. It's like a world of geniuses who never learned to build a boat. Cole leaned forward in his command chair. Take us in, stealth protocols active. As the Odyssey slipped into the system, the planet came into view on the main screen. A collective gasp went through the bridge. It was a world of impossible beauty. Deep purple oceans lapped against shores of crimson sand. From these scarlet lands rose cities that seemed to be grown, not built. Their spires and towers were formed from colossal, luminous crystals that pulsed with a soft, internal light. Incredible, Dr. Thorne murmured from the science station. Their infrastructure appears to be based on crystalline computing. The entire planet is a single, integrated network. The mathematical complexity is breathtaking. They're hailing us, the communications officer announced, her eyes wide. They detected us even through the stealth field. Their world is a sensor array, Thorne realized aloud. They don't look for ships. They feel for disturbances. In the fabric of space-time. Cole nodded, impressed. Open a channel. Let's meet them. The image that formed on the screen was not of a being, but of a complex, shifting pattern of light. It was a geometric dance of sapphire and emerald. A voice, synthesized into human language from pure mathematical concepts, filled the bridge. It was melodic and resonant, like the chiming of 1,000 tiny bells. You are not of the hegemony. Your method of travel is discordant. Identify yourselves. This is Captain Marcus Cole of the Earth vessel Odyssey, Cole replied. We come in peace. Peace, the voice chimed. A rare commodity. I am Xylos. You have passed through the resonance fence. How is this possible? Cole exchanged a look with Thorne. Resonance fence? We detected no barrier. The light pattern that was Xylos shimmered, a visual representation of surprise. The hegemony placed it here eons ago. It is a quantum field that dampens hyperspatial frequencies. They told us it was for our safety, to protect our unique development from the chaos of the galaxy. It prevents the formation of stable wormholes or warp fields. It is why we have never left our world. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. The hegemony hadn't just ignored the Xylan. They had quarantined them. They had built the walls of a beautiful prison and told the inmates it was a sanctuary. Cole felt a cold anger solidify in his gut. Xylos, Cole said, his voice steady. We are not from the hegemony. We are from a world they also deemed in need of guidance. We left without their permission. The crystalline light of Xylos ceased its elegant dance. It held perfectly still for a long moment. You defied them? We believe every species has the right to find its own path, Cole stated. Dr. Thorne, unable to contain his scientific fervor, broke in. Your mathematics, your understanding of quantum resonance, it's centuries beyond our own. With our engine designs and your computational models, we could dismantle that fence. You could be free. Free, the word echoed from the speaker. It was no longer a chime, but a note of profound, terrifying possibility. The hegemony told us. The fence was for our safety. We did not realize it was the wall of a prison. A new energy filled the bridge of the Odyssey. The mission was no longer an abstract hope. It now had a face made of light, a voice made of mathematics, and a longing for freedom that was universal. We're here to offer you a choice, Xylos, Cole said, his gaze fixed on the shimmering geometric patterns. One we believe you were denied a long time ago. With the help of the Xylan, the resonance fence around their world was dismantled. It was not taken down with weapons, but with a precisely targeted counterfrequency that caused the quantum field to collapse in on itself. The first Xylan probe to cross the threshold into hyperspace was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. In gratitude, they shared their knowledge. They integrated their crystalline computing matrices with the Odyssey's systems and provided Captain Cole with star charts. These charts pointed to other systems that suffered under the hegemony's quiet dominion. Their next stop was a water world, Coralia. It was a breathtaking sapphire orb whose vibrant marine life was being systematically poisoned by a massive hegemony-chartered mining operation. The Corallians, a graceful, amphibious species with flowing fins and sorrowful, intelligent eyes, were trapped in a cycle of indentured servitude. They were forced to watch as their planet's vital resources were siphoned away. The Odyssey did not engage the mining platforms directly. Instead, guided by the Corallians' intimate knowledge of the planet's deep-sea vents and the Xylan's flawless calculations, they helped orchestrate a series of natural disasters. A sudden, unexpected, geothermal eruption disabled the primary power conduit. A precisely targeted sonic resonance, mimicking local fauna, caused hairline fractures in the processing units. From the hegemony's perspective, it was a string of catastrophic bad luck. To the Corallians, it was liberation. You fight. For those who cannot pay you, the Corallian representative asked Cole via a water-to-air comm unit. Their voice was a series of melodic clicks. The hegemony only acts when there is profit or power to be gained. We found that freedom is its own kind of profit, Cole replied. The Corallians, in turn, shared what they had. They told. Whispers and rumors gathered from the fringes of galactic trade. They told of a ghost fleet, a nomadic people who lived in the dense Veil Nebula, a place the hegemony avoided. Following these whispers, the Odyssey plunged into the swirling clouds of dust and gas. There, they found them. A fleet of mismatched ships, old and strange, tethered together to form a floating city within the nebula's heart. These were the Echo Drifters, a willowy, silent species who had been exiled from the hegemony thousands of years ago for espousing dangerous scientific theories. They had survived by hiding, trading, and remembering what the hegemony wanted forgotten. Their elder, a being called Ghost of Orion, shared their most precious secret, the knowledge of spatial folding. It was a form of FTL travel that didn't require stable warp fields, allowing for instantaneous microjumps. It was a technology the hegemony had banned as too unpredictable. The hegemony fears change. They desire stasis. Ghost of Orion communicated through translated light patterns. They believe a predictable galaxy is a safe galaxy. You, humans, are the ultimate agents of change. You are the chaos they have always feared. The crew of the Odyssey was transforming. On the bridge, a Xylan specialist now worked alongside the human navigation officer, their minds in perfect sync. In engineering, a Corallian biologist helped Dr. Thorne design more efficient, bio-integrated energy conduits. The ship that had left Earth with 100 humans was becoming something new, a living embodiment of the alliance it was building. It was no longer just humanity's hope. It was the last hope of the forgotten. The Cygnus X, one choke point was a place where physics came to scream. A lone black hole devoured the light of a neighboring blue giant. It created a swirling accretion disk of incandescent gas that painted the cosmos in violent hues of violet and X-ray blue. It was the only stable path to the Lyran system, where a species of silicon-based life forms was rumored to be on the brink of an FTL breakthrough. They were therefore on the brink of hegemony guidance. The Odyssey threaded its way through the gravitational tides, a mere speck against the cosmic violence. And then they were no longer alone. Reality tore open in 3 places. 3 Cygnian battle cruisers materialized in a perfect triangular formation, blocking their path. Each one was 20 times the size of the Odyssey. Their silver hulls, designed for overwhelming power and aesthetic intimidation, gleamed in the light of the dying star. Weapon ports slid open along their spines like the unsheathing of 1,000 knives. They were waiting for us, Cole stated, his voice devoid of surprise. They knew our destination. They're hailing us, Captain, the communications officer said, his knuckles white. On screen, the face that appeared was that of a Cygnian fleet lord. His carapace was a deep, arrogant crimson. His translated voice was sharp and brittle. Human vessel. Your chaotic crusade across the Outer Arms ends today. You have interfered with hegemony operations and incited primitive species to rebellion. Power down your systems and surrender this mongrel vessel for disassembly. Cole looked around his bridge. He saw the focused calm of his human officers. He saw the steady, internal light of the Xylan tactical lead. He saw the fluid grace of the Corallian biologist monitoring the shield relays, and the quiet stillness of the Echo Drifter at the navigation console. A mongrel vessel. He was right. And it was the greatest strength they had. Let's show them what happens when the outsiders work together, Cole said to his crew. Then he addressed the fleet lord. We claim the right of free passage. You have no authority here. The fleet lord's mandibles clicked in a gesture of contempt. So be it. Erase this anomaly. The screen went dark. They're firing. The human tactical officer called out. The first volley was terrifying. 3 synchronized beams of pure energy, each capable of cracking a moon, converged on the Odyssey's position. On the bridge, the crew braced for an impact that should have atomized them. Instead, the ship shuddered as the new shields came to life. The beams struck, but they did not shatter the shield. The shield flowed. Like water diverting around a stone, the energy was channeled around the hull in shimmering, aquamarine ribbons of light. It was a product of Corallian biocircuitry that treated energy not as a force to be blocked, but as a current to be navigated. On the Hegemony flagship, the Fleet Lord stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Report. Why are there shields? Holding? No Tier 4 energy screen can withstand that level of focused fire. Their shields aren't blocking, Lord, his panicked weapons officer reported. They are redirecting. The energy profile is unstable, biological. It violates known shield mechanics. Then fire again. Overwhelm them with. He was cut off as his own ship bucked violently. The Odyssey had returned fire. There was no massive volley, no broadside. Just a single, impossibly precise lance of energy that struck the flagship's primary weapon emitter, disabling it instantly. How? The Fleet Lord roared on the Odyssey. The Xylan tactical specialist, a being of pure light and logic, was in its element. Its crystalline consciousness was directly interfaced with the ship's sensors. It processed the Hegemony ship's energy output, heat signatures, and material stress points at the speed of thought. It wasn't targeting the ship. It was targeting the single, most vulnerable bolt on its enemy's forward cannon. Targeting. Solution for their port engine coolant line calculated, the Xylan chimed. Probability of success, 99.8%. Fire, Cole said calmly. Another surgical strike, and the flagship began to list, venting blue coolant into space. The other two cruisers, seeing their commander's vessel crippled, surged forward. They attempted to catch the Odyssey in a pincer. They adjusted their firing solutions, trying to bracket the small, defiant ship. They're boxing us in, Captain. It's time, Cole said, turning his gaze to the Echo Drifter at navigation. Take us for a walk. The six-armed being gave a slow, serene nod. Its long, delicate fingers danced across a console that seemed to have no physical buttons. It manipulated the very fabric of the ship's reality. The universe outside the view screen folded. For the Hegemony crews, the Odyssey simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, trapped between them. The next, it was gone. Their sensors shrieked with confusion. Before the Fleet Lord could even process the tactical impossibility of what had just happened, alarms screamed from the aft section of his own ship. The Odyssey had reappeared directly behind him, less than 1,000 kilometers off his stern. It was a maneuver that defied all known laws of FTL travel. It was a jump too short, too precise, too fast for any engine to possibly perform. Target their engines, Cole ordered. Disable, do not destroy. The Odyssey's weapons fired. The flagship's massive engines, now exposed and vulnerable, erupted in a chain reaction of silent, brilliant explosions. The great warship went dark and silent, adrift in the glare of the black hole. Second cruiser is turning to engage. Jump, Cole commanded. Again, space folded. The Odyssey vanished, only to reappear on the second cruiser's vulnerable dorsal side. A few precise shots, and its communication array and sensory mast were slag. The ship was left blind and deaf. Jump. The third cruiser, witnessing the impossible fate of its companions, tried to flee. But the Odyssey was already there, jumping to a point directly in its path. One final, disabling shot took out its rudder controls, sending it into an uncontrollable spin. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes. 3 of the Hegemony's finest battle cruisers were left floating, crippled, but with their crews still alive. The Odyssey, its dark hull unscratched, hovered in the space between them, a silent testament to a new form of power. Cole looked at the tactical display, then at the faces of his crew. Human, Xylan, Corallian, Echo Drifter, all working as one. He keyed the comm, let the damaged one go. We want them to tell the others what happened here. Aboard the one cruiser still capable of limping away, a terrified commander sent his frantic report back to the Hegemony High Command. His voice shook, his carefully controlled superiority shattered. Fleet Lord, they are gone. The others are disabled. The human ship did not fight like a ship. It moved like a phantom, a ghost with 1,000 minds. It struck from impossible angles. It dodged without moving. It fought by rules we do not know. Our physics, our tactics, they are meaningless against this. I do not know what they are, but they are not the primitives we were told. They are something else. something we are not prepared for. The Grand Chamber of the Cygnian hegemony was a monument to millennia of unchallenged authority. It was a vast, circular amphitheater where light itself seemed to bend in respect to the High Council. But today, it was a pit of chaos. Shouted accusations, translated into 100 different languages, echoed off the vaulted ceilings. The report from the Cygnus X, one choke point had shattered the chamber's ancient composure. An alliance of primitives led by a single human ship had crippled 3 battle cruisers. It was not merely a defeat. It was an impossibility, an insult to the very laws of the universe as the hegemony understood them. Praetor Valerius stood at the central dais. His iridescent carapace flickered with agitated colors. His political rivals were circling, their words dripping with sarcasm. A masterful strategy, Praetor, sneered a delegate from a rival clutch. To think, your benevolent guidance has cultivated such surprising ingenuity in the primitives. They will be dealt with. Valerius snapped, his translated voice sharp. A full retribution fleet will be dispatched to their home system. We will dismantle their world piece by piece and display the fragments as a warning against such insolence. And what of their allies? Another delegate countered. The report mentions Xylan computational patterns and Echo Drifter FTL signatures. Are we to declare war on the forgotten species we ourselves have scattered across the void? Before Valerius could formulate a response, a new alert flashed across the chamber's main display, silencing the arguments. It was a priority message from Hegemony Border Command. 5 unidentified vessels have just appeared at the edge of the core systems, the automated voice announced. Signatures match the human vessel from the Cygnus incident. They are holding position. They are not responding to hails. A wave of dread washed over the chamber. The human ship wasn't a fluke. It was a vanguard. The delegates erupted into a fresh wave of panicked debate. The grand doors to the chamber hissed open. A lone figure walked in, unannounced and uninvited. She was human, dressed in a simple, dark blue diplomatic uniform. Her silver hair was pulled back in a severe bun. She moved with a calm, unwavering confidence that was more unnerving than any weapon. The chamber guards, stunned by the audacity, moved to intercept her. Let her speak. Valerius commanded, his voice tight with fury. He wanted to see this primitive, to understand the face of the chaos that was unraveling his universe. The woman stopped in the center of the hall. Her gaze swept over the assembly of the galaxy's most powerful beings. I am Ambassador Eva Rostova of Earth, she said, her voice clear and strong. It needed no translator to carry its authority. You have no standing here, human. A delegate shrieked. My standing, Rostova replied, her eyes locking onto Praetor Valerius, was earned at Cygnus X1. It was earned on Xylos when we dismantled your prison. It was earned on Coralia when we broke your chains of servitude. She began to pace slowly. Her voice was a calm indictment. For millennia, you have called yourselves shepherds of the galaxy. But you are not shepherds. You are hoarders. You hoard technology, you hoard knowledge, and you hoard freedom. You dole out scraps to species you deem worthy while quarantining any who might one day challenge your supremacy. Her gaze fell upon Valerius. You call us primitive. Yet in less than a decade, we have reverse-engineered, understood, and improved upon technologies that took your stagnant culture centuries to perfect. You call us chaotic. Yet we have forged a true alliance between species you cast aside, a bond built not on dominance, but on mutual respect and a shared desire to be free. This is an act of war. Valerius thundered. No, Rostova corrected him. Her voice dropped to a dangerously quiet level. This is an act of liberation. The age of your guidance is over, Praetor. We are here today to offer the galaxy a new way. Not the rigid, top-down control of the hegemony, but a true partnership of equals. As she spoke, holographic images appeared around her. They were projected from a device on her wrist. They showed the Odyssey, its crew a vibrant mix of species working together. They showed Xylan, Corallian, and dozens of other primitive races now communicating, trading, and sharing knowledge through networks the hegemony never knew existed. Praetor Valerius stared, his mind reeling. The foundation of his reality, the 30,000-year-old belief in his species' innate superiority, was crumbling. He had not just underestimated humanity. He had failed to understand the very nature of the galaxy he presumed to rule. He saw the faces of the other delegates. The hardliners were enraged, but many others, the junior partners, the resentful protectorates, were watching with a new light in their eyes. They were seeing, for the first time in millennia, a viable alternative to hegemony rule. The Stellar Concord is born today, Rostova declared. Her voice rang with the force of historical certainty. All are welcome. All who value freedom over control, progress over stagnation, cooperation over subjugation. You can join us, or you can be left behind by a galaxy that has outgrown the need for masters. Valerius looked from the defiant human to the fracturing loyalty in the chamber. For the first time, he felt the cold touch of a feeling his species had not experienced in 30,000 years. It was the terror of being on the wrong side of history. 10 years later, Concord Station hung in high orbit over Earth. It was a testament to a revolution won not by conquest, but by cooperation. It was not a weapon of war, but a sprawling, vibrant city in space. Its structures were a breathtaking fusion of design philosophies. Human function was integrated with Xylan crystal computing cores. It was all powered by Corallian bioenergy systems and connected by the Echo Drifter's non-Euclidean transit tubes. Ships from hundreds of worlds, vessels of every conceivable shape and size, docked at its ports. Their crews mingled in the station's great plazas in a riot of color and form. Admiral Marcus Cole, his dark hair now streaked with a distinguished silver, stood at the great observation window of his office. He was no longer a captain on a desperate mission, but a chief architect of the new peace. An aide appeared at his door. "Admiral, the inaugural session of the Stellar Concord is ready to convene." Cole nodded and made his way to the grand chamber. The room was the philosophical opposite of the hegemony's hall. It was open, filled with light, and its seating was arranged in a perfect circle, with no seat elevated above another. Here, representatives from over 500 species waited to formally ratify their new future. Many of them had never been allowed to speak in the old council. Cole took his place at the central podium. To his side stood Ambassador Rostova, Dr. Thorne, and the alien allies who had first joined his impossible quest. 10 years ago, Cole began, his voice carrying a quiet strength that filled the vast chamber. Earth was a world given a verdict. We were told to wait, to observe, to know our place in a galaxy that had already decided our future for us. Instead, we sent one ship to find its own way. His gaze swept across the diverse assembly. That ship, the Odyssey, found more than we ever dared to hope. It found others who had been told the same thing. It found brilliant minds trapped behind fences, vibrant cultures exploited for their resources, and ancient wisdoms exiled to the dark. It found that we were not alone in our desire for something better. He gestured to the assembly. Today, we signed the charter that makes our shared hope a reality. A stellar concord, founded on a simple, radical idea that the galaxy is large, enough for everyone, that knowledge belongs to all, and that our differences are our greatest strength. One by one, the representatives came forward to sign the charter. It was a living document displayed on a column of light. They signed with hands, with tentacles, with shimmering fields of energy. When it was done, a wave of celebration, 1,000 different sounds of joy filled the chamber. Later, Cole found his old crew gathered in a quiet observation lounge. Dr. Thorne was in a heated, joyous debate with a Xylan physicist. The Corallian representative was showing holos of their restored oceans to a rapt audience. "Did you ever think it would come to this?" Catherine Daniels, now head of the Concord's Joint Science Initiative, asked him. "Never," Cole admitted, with a smile. "We just wanted to prove we deserved a seat at the table." Instead, a melodic voice chimed in. "You built a new table and invited everyone to sit." Cole turned. Praetor Valerius approached. His carapace was no longer the arrogant crimson of a conqueror, but a calm, humble shade of violet. He was the Cygnian emissary to the Concord. His people had chosen partnership over obsolescence. "Praetor," Cole greeted him with a nod. "Admiral," Valerius replied, inclining his head. "I have replayed the events of the last decade in my mind 1,000 times. Our models, our predictions, they were all flawless, based on millennia of data. They all failed to predict you. Why do you think that is?" Cole asked. Valerius was silent for a moment. Because we feared what you might become. A rival, a threat, a conqueror in our own image. We never considered what you could become, a catalyst. You did not conquer the hegemony, Admiral. You made it irrelevant by showing the galaxy a better way. Their conversation was interrupted by a young officer. Admiral Cole, sir. The Odyssey is preparing for departure. Cole made his way to the station's primary flight control. Below, the legendary ship was being readied. It was a museum piece now, a historical treasure, but it was not being retired. It was being entrusted to a new generation for a new mission. They would travel beyond the known borders of the Concord and seek out new life, not as a ghost of rebellion, but as an emissary of invitation. The new captain, a young woman with eyes full of nervous energy and immense pride, met him at the command console. Admiral, it's an honor. I hope I can live up to the legacy. Cole placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry about legacy, Captain, he said, his voice soft. Just do what the Odyssey has always done. What's that, sir? Cole smiled, his eyes looking past her to the starfield on the main screen, to the endless field of new possibilities. Whatever everyone else thinks is impossible.